Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending today's Inflation Reduction Act Town Hall. First, I would like to thank our amazing co-hosts, Senator Tammy Duckworth, Representative Nabila Syed, Representative Jennifer Gong-Gershowitz, Commissioner Scott Britton, Commissioner Josina Morita, as well as Palatine Cool Cities. Without all of you, we could not have made this possible, so thank you so much. I would also like to thank our comms team for making this all possible, and also my colleague Francisco for helping to moderate the Q&A and record the session today. So before we get started, I do want to do some quick housekeeping. We will have a Q&A session at the end of this webinar. If you have a question already, feel free to put that into the chat and Francisco will help get those answered. Additionally, we ask that you stay muted throughout the presentation. And with that, we'll get started. We are recording this session, so if you have any questions, we are going to do a follow-up email at the end of the webinar. We will share this recording with you as well as the slides. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Angela Hsu, and I am the Municipal Engagement Manager with the Illinois Environmental Council. And a little bit about IEC. We were founded in 1975. We've worked to safeguard Illinois, the people, plants, and animals, and natural systems of which all life depends, by building power for people and the environment. We represent over 150 environmental organizations operating in the state, and we carry out our mission to advance equitable public policies that create healthy environments through collaboration, building power, and advocacy. We work across 6 different issue areas, including agriculture, conservation, clean energy, transportation, clean water, and zero waste. So a little bit of high-level information about the Inflation Reduction Act. And again, this is a lot of information, so rest assured you will get the recording and the notes after this. It was signed into law in 2022, and it is the largest investment in United States history in climate advocacy and change, and reaching a renewable state for the country. Investments are projected to achieve up to 40% reduction in climate pollution by 2030, and we really are already seeing those impacts. We're seeing a lot of clean energy job creation. We're seeing hundreds of thousands of them being created across the country. Now, we can't talk about the IRA without talking about CEJA, or the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, passed here in Illinois in 2021. This was a really remarkable and momentous piece of legislation. And thanks to CEJA, we can actually now benefit from the financial programs and the federal funding coming down the pike from the IRA. A lot of the presenters today will be talking about some of the programs under the IRA, including the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant you'll be hearing a lot about, as well as our Environmental and Climate Justice Program. We'll also go over some tax credits, reductions, and rebates, and talk about direct pay. So really quickly, the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, some really great news. Illinois received a substantial award this year. It finances greenhouse gas emissions reductions for communities, and it creates a state or city green banks. So thanks to CEJA, we actually have the Illinois Finance Authority as our state's climate bank, receiving that federal funding. The US EPA Solar for All program is able to now expand the Illinois Solar for All and Illinois Shines. This will enable hundreds of thousands of low-income households and communities to benefit from distributed solar energy. And so, as I said, we received $156 million to deliver this residential solar, and this was really great news that we received in April. Another piece of funding that we had a lot of success from, this actually happened on my birthday, so it was really exciting for me, the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant, or the CPRG. My friend and collaborator, Nate, will actually present on this later. And we received a substantial $430 million in Illinois for community-driven solutions. Really importantly, I want to highlight the Environmental and Climate Justice Program. The US EPA has created a lot of these different programs to highlight the importance of environmental justice in this federal funding. Really, the IRA is set to benefit disadvantaged communities and provide funding for programs that will come out of it. For example, the Community Change Grants, applications are due by November 21st. So if you are seeking to create a project among your community, partner with a community-based organization, you can submit an application to the US EPA, and if the sooner the better, because they will actually provide you feedback for how to make your application more robust. Now, a lot of people have asked, how can I receive assistance in applying for this grant? Well, there's a lot of these environmental justice thriving communities, technical assistance centers, or for short, EJ TIC-TACs. In Illinois, we're very fortunate to have a couple based here in the state. We have the Great Lakes Tic Tac as well as the Blacks and Green EJ Tic Tac as well. There's several tax credits and benefits under the IRA. One of them, for example, is the Clean Electricity Investment Credit. As the name would suggest, if you are to invest in clean electricity, you get that tax credit back. And I wanted to highlight a few of these credits. For example, there is the ITC, or the investment tax credit, which reduces upfront costs for a project. Or let's say you're generating per kilowatt energy being produced, then you get a PTC, or a production tax credit. And even on top of that, we have these bonus credits, or adders as they're called. Examples of these adders are the low income communities bonus credit, where you get a 10 or 20% increase to the ITC for qualified wind and solar projects, or a domestic content bonus credit, which means, let's say you have used components created or manufactured here in the United States, you get that bonus credit. Again, 10% or 20% increase. And I really like this graphic because it shows, let's say you have that clean electricity investment credit from your project, and then you add 10% from the domestic content, another 10% from the energy community adder. Already that is 50%, or half of your project getting covered in those tax credits back to you. Something really significant and huge is that there's something called elective pay, and it's from the US Treasury. This is big because municipalities and other eligible entities, so local governments, nonprofits, who used to not be eligible for these tax credits before because there was no tax liability, they can now, for the very first time, directly receive these payments equal to the full value of tax credits for building qualifying clean energy projects. There's also going to be several benefits for homeowners and renters. For example, we are seeing from the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, the home energy rebates are set to roll out in Q1 of 2025. And a lot of these rebates, for example, the high efficiency electric home rebate program, or the home electrification appliance rebates, or for example, if you were to have a heat pump or an electric stovetop, you can get those rebates back for those appliances and those purchases. We also have several clean vehicle credits available in Illinois. For example, the alternative fuel vehicle refueling property credit, or let's say you have a heavy duty vehicle program or electrifying a fleet, you can get those credits back for that as well. And last, I just want to share a couple really great tools. This is the Climate Program Portal. If you're ever curious about what funding has come to Illinois so far from the Inflation Reduction Act and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, this website is fantastic for that. They encourage municipal decision makers, members of the public, to go ahead and register an account. It's completely free and it's updated in real time. And additionally, let's say you're thinking, I would love to find technical assistance for a project. I would love to have a resource for starting my project. There's a project finance hub by the Climate Program Portal where you can go in and get those resources to learn how to benefit from the IRA. And with that, thank you so much. That is my presentation. I will now pass it over to Commissioner Morita.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Angela, and thank you to IEC for doing this. I think for all of us who have even tried to follow the IRA, it is a massive initiative that has so many different pieces to it. So thank you to IEC for doing this and helping kind of break it down for all of us, especially what does it mean for nonprofits? What does it mean for individual households? What does it mean for governments? Because it means so many things to so many different people. And there's a lot to take advantage of, but if we don't know about these programs and how to access them, right, then we're not at the table. And so thank you to IEC for helping kind of break this down for us. I think one of the things you wanted me to talk about is what the IRA has meant for us at Cook County. And I think, like many of you, we had lots of plans, ambitious plans, but didn't necessarily have a way to fund them. And so this has helped us take a lot of our healthy communities initiatives and our environmental initiatives out of our Department of Environment and Sustainability, but beyond just DES, to be able to provide some funding and supports for a number of our goals, whether it be brownfields, expanding our community solar programs. We got an air monitoring grant from the IRA. as well as expanding our electric vehicle charging stations in the public, particularly in disadvantaged areas. So there have been a number of very specific programs and funding streams. But I think for me, one of the most exciting parts is that it's not just coming to governments like Cook County, but it's also going to so many of our crucial partners who are doing the work on the ground. Many of you are here on the call who are nonprofits who are doing environmental justice work, who are doing community solar, who are doing brownfields work. And so it's exciting to see some of our municipalities get involved. I think over $10 million has already come just to Skokie and Evanston here in the 13th district to expand a number of their programs, from tree planting to building codes, making our buildings greener. And then, of course, also to a lot of our community partners here in the district, but also partners who have been part of our environmental justice work across the county. One of the initiatives that the first initiative actually I passed as a Cook County Commissioner about a year and a half ago was committing Cook County to pass its first environmental justice policy ever. We've never had one in 190 years. And so we have an engagement process countywide. If for those of you who haven't been part of it yet, please do reach out. We had a community survey. We're going to be doing public town halls. We have working groups to really engage people on the ground of what our environmental justice policy should look like. And so it's exciting to see a lot of our EJ partners on the ground also getting money from the IRA to help move this work forward. So it's really an exciting, sometimes once in a generation opportunity to really engage everybody, not just, large governments like Cook County, but our local governments, our nonprofit partners, and to provide some direct incentives and relief to communities on the ground, particularly those in environmental justice communities. So it's really exciting. And again, thank you to IEC for hosting this to help folks really break down and understand really this massive initiative, but that has the opportunity to do a lot of good, especially in our environmental justice community. So thank you, Angela.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. That is really exciting to hear that work being done at the county level. Right, and next I will pass it over to my friend and collaborator, Thomas Mosley, to give his presentation.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Thomas Mosley, and I am the Suburban Outreach and Grants Coordinator in the Chicago office of U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth. Basically, what we're going to be talking about today is mainly the programs and grants from the Environmental Protection Agency. But before we get into that, we're going to have a general layover of the different grants by different agencies from the Department of Transportation, Department of Energy, the different tax credits that are available. And then later on, we'll talk about how it's actually impacting Illinois. So Angela, if you could get to the next slide, that would be great. And yeah, these are the air. So as you can see, the breakdown of climate, energy, and funding, they're mainly tax credits that are in the IRA. I'm going to be talking about the Environmental Protection Agency ones. But there's also many other things from the USDA for agricultural practices. The Department of Energy has some amazing rebate programs for converting to solar, and then other agencies as well. The Department of Transportation, as I said, is really focused on turning the fleet of public transportation from from buses to trains, all those different things, to zero emission vehicles and electric. The Department of Commerce is very focused on economic development, and the U.S. Postal Service is converting its fleet to electric post trucks. And also Housing and Urban Development is focusing on refurbishing homes, converting to solar, and then using clean energy for a lot of houses. Next slide, please. Now, the breakdown of the Environmental Protection Agency, they're tackling the issue from 4 different areas. The first 2 that I'm going to talk about are the sector-based programs. Now, they're mobile and stationary. For stationary, we're talking about monitoring the air quality in specific regions, mainly areas that have been historically disadvantaged. You have the methane emissions program and also the funding to address pollution and air monitoring. We're not just talking about methane emissions, we're also talking about ethylene oxide, and we're also talking about carbon dioxide, that comes from many different things, from wood heaters to different household things that you may have just laying around that emit CO2 into the air and is detrimental to the atmosphere and the community overall. From the bottom up, there's environmental justice. This is specifically for historically disadvantaged communities. We'll have an example of that later. And then from the top down, we're talking about climate action plans that can be implemented on a big scale, but also in smaller scales, which there's a perfect example in Northern Cook County that I will bring up in the next slide. Next slide, please. So for the climate pollution reduction grant, the IRA has allocated $5 billion, that's with a B, to support local greenhouse gas reduction strategies. Mainly what we've seen is that the competitive implementation grants are a big part of how we help the different organizations. A perfect example would be Rebuilding Exchange, which is based in Evanston, Illinois. Recently received $4 million for a grant from the CPRG for their practice of using recycled building materials to construct new homes. Really great project. We went out to the facility. There was a press conference. That's where they did the big check and everything. Dick Durbin was there, Rep. Schakowsky, along with the mayor of Evanston, and also Deborah Shore, who is the EPA regional administrator for the 5th region, which is where we are in. But the climate pollution reduction grant it's a big scale project, but also really focused on climate action plans. And also CMAP, along with the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus, also received a big grant. The next, we're going to talk about methane emissions. The methane emissions reduction program, that's the stationary sector that I was talking about earlier. So we're talking about the air quality in specific regions, monitoring pollution in different areas, and there are multiple different strategies for that. There's fence lining. They're seeing how wood heaters affect the community. But overall, the goal is to monitor exactly how much this is affecting the area. And you can correlate that to a lot of different things, from life expectancy to asthma rates in the area, respiratory illnesses as well. So the methane emissions program is a big one that is really focused on monitoring the different pollutants that are in the air. Next slide, please. Oh, yeah, and these are the different ones. The air quality sensors, the wood heaters, methane monitoring, and then the multi-pollutant, which was focused on the CO2 and also the ethylene oxide that can be potentially poisoning the people in a specific region. Next slide, please. For the transportation programs, this is something that our office does a lot. We're really focused on helping. We have many different transportation, not agencies, but companies in the state of Illinois. As we see PACE, I'm pretty sure everybody's used either the Metro or the CTA at some point. But overall, the DOT is very committed to the conversion to zero emission vehicles and HDVs, including refuse haulers, which is just a fancy word for garbage trucks, the public transportation vehicles, so all the blue line, red line, all those different lines, and as well as school buses. There's a really great company called Line Electric, which last year we had a press conference with, who converted nearly their entire fleet of buses to electric. And also we have the Clean Ports program, which is the funds for purchase or installation of zero emission port equipment and technology. Next slide, please. There are other ones. My colleague Angela mentioned the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. I'm sorry, one second. They're funding nonprofits. There's also the Solar for All competition, which Illinois has gotten a lot of money from that one. The Clean Communities Investor Accelerator Program, which is also, last year they had, I think it was 6 nonprofits that were selected. And then I also want to talk about the Environmental and Climate Justice Block Grants. That was another one of the 4 different points that EPA was focused on. They are really focused on some specific areas include the city of Waukegan, Zion, and Calumet. A lot of times what happens is they promise jobs to the residents in these specific areas, for bringing a certain company or any type of building a factory into that area. What they don't tell you is that they're bringing a lot of different pollutants. They're going to affect the air quality overall. I took a tour with the Southeast Environmental Task Force in that region, and the air quality was terrible. It didn't smell too good either. But overall, these are issues that need to be addressed. And thankfully, the EPA has created a program that will address them, and that is the Environmental and Climate Justice Block Grant. So overall, I think that's probably my favorite program. And there are also organizations that are really focused on helping the different solutions and going downstate to Springfield to advocate for more. But there's still so much work to be done, and our office is happy to help with any of these grants as well. Next slide, please. Okay, and the federal assistance. As you can see, it actually is working. Um, the state has gotten over $1 billion awarded to combat climate change, with so much more on the way. I really love Illinois, the EJ programs, the different communities that we have. They're really focused on combating climate change. I want to give a special shout out to our partners in this presentation because they are the ones that are on the ground doing the work. We really appreciate it, and we're more than happy to help. And in the next slide, I will be able to tell you exactly how our office is able to help. Next slide, please. Now, what we mainly do with the federal agencies is provide letters of support. A letter of support goes a long way to any federal agency if you're applying for a grant from our office. Basically, what you would do is submit the letter along with a draft, a brief summary of your project, who you are, and where the letter will be going in terms like whether it's Department of Transportation, the EPA, GSA, etc. We're more than happy to provide it. The turnaround time, I will say, is about 7 to 10 business days. So if you're going to do one, it would be really great if you could do it and get ahead of the game in terms of being early rather than asking like at the last minute for a grant that might be due next week or something. But overall, our office also has a breakdown of how to write grants. There's a resource guide that we have on our website, which is amazing. And we are happy to help in any way we can. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email directly at the email below. That's Thomas_Mosley@duckworth.senate.gov. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was really interesting to hear about, and really exciting to hear about our community partners that are benefiting from this momentous investment. And just really quick, I do want to point out, so IEC, we did not receive a CPRG grant, but what we did do is, as one organization among many as part of the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition, is we have been engaging with the governor's office and the Illinois EPA on the policy behind the climate pollution reduction grant, and ensuring that they know our subject matter experts and our collaborators are available to give feedback and information on how to roll out these really great programs. And we absolutely are always celebrating a success at the state level to make sure the entire state is benefiting from the CPRG. So yeah, thank you so much for that presentation. And with that, I'll pass it over to Stacy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stacy Rudd. I'm the Outreach Director for Representative Gong-Gershowitz. Sorry. She unfortunately couldn't be here today, so I just have some brief remarks on her behalf. First, I want to say thank you to the IEC for hosting this very important town hall. We really appreciate all of your advocacy and all of the work you've done to implement the IRA and all the work that's being done at the federal level. So thank you to Senator Duckworth and her staff as well. I don't want to be redundant because a lot of what I had been planning to discuss in terms of what's happening in Illinois has been touched on. So I'm just going to talk about the work that Representative Gong-Gershowitz has done related to the environment and to how passionate she is as a member of the Green Caucus. So some of the legislation that I want to share with you is SB 58, which she passed last year, which bans state agencies from buying single-use polystyrene foam containers. No vendor contracted through a state agency or department can provide customers with polystyrene foam containers. And these are the clamshell style styrofoam containers that you see from many restaurants. And she's hoping to expand this legislation and ban the usage of these containers in all food services to help reduce waste. So we really appreciate the support of IEC with this and with similar bills. Additionally, SB 1563, which is the EPA microplastics bill, requires the IEPA to study the impact of microplastics in our environment and to make that report available to the public. More information on this can be found at this link, which I'll drop in the chat, so everyone can take a peek at it. And also, she's really proud of the work she did related to HB 1780, the drug take-back program, which requires drug manufacturers to pay for and run free and safe drug disposal options throughout the state. This was a really critical step toward reducing the prescription opioid crisis and protecting our water quality. Representative Gong-Gershowitz worked with many stakeholders, including the Illinois Environmental Council, the Illinois Retail Manufacturers Association, SWALCO, MWORD, IEPA, Pharma, Illinois Manufacturers Association, and municipal governments to get this bill passed. So I'm also going to drop a link in the chat to learn where the closest drug take-back site is to you, in case you need that information. Thank you very much for inviting us to participate and be a co-host. We're really glad that we could be here with you today.
Thank you so much, Stacy. That's really exciting to hear. Thank you everyone so much for attending this town hall today. Again, a copy of the slides and the presentation will be making its way to you. And thank you so much for your time and have a great day. And thank you to our co-hosts.